handsome liberal. Wanted to do an evening live. For the simple fact is, many of you folks are aware. It looks like both sides of the house have come together and come up with a border bill. As you see behind me on the monitor, we're going to be talking about that. But it looks like the 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 Republican Congress and the liberal Senate have come together for once and put together a bill protecting the border. Make no mistake about it, many folks on the right have been more border protection literally Biden's entire term. So we now have some form of a border bill, but it's actually looking like the Republicans are going to are really going to throw the bill out because that is what Trump wants. So what I want to ask you folks is, are the Republicans literally putting party politics over the protection of the border? In other words, as you see on the monitor, Trump's blocking the border bill. Is it good or a bad thing? You got the Senate and Congress working together, and I'll go through some of the provisions in the bill, but you actually have the Senate and you have Congress working together to protect the border. And it appears that because this could propel Biden and his efforts to get reelected, Trump has convinced the Republicans to literally shelf the border bill in hopes of things looking chaotic under Biden for the rest of his term and help him out. So what I want to ask you folks is, if do you believe that's the right thing to do? To keep the border the way it is for at least 10 months, probably for the rest of this year, the issues at the border would continue because the entire bill is going to be shelved to benefit Trump. How many of you folks think that that is the right thing to do? To defend Trump's reelection bid so strongly that you're willing to leave the border as is until probably 2025. Now, looking in the comments real quick, I want to find this out from you folks, particularly my beloved MAGA. How many of you folks think this is a good idea? Because I'm hearing folks right and left. You see what Governor Abbott did recently, had a hell of a lot of Republicans come down to the border and literally give them the spiel on what's going on. So if you think the border's really that bad, why would you leave it the way it is for at least 10 to 12 months? I mean, if Trump gets reelected, understand that if Trump gets reelected, he doesn't get sworn in office until January of next year. That's even if he wants to do something on day one, he doesn't get an opportunity to do it until late January 2025. Are you okay with leaving the border the way it is until January 2025? Because this is what the Republicans are going for. I want to see what you folks have to say. As always, you know how the program is ran. I don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. If you disagree with the host, nobody gives a damn. But I want to hear, because I did want to hear your opinions. Going to go straight to the box to start it out. Judge Political. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Judge. How you doing?
What's going on? Long time no talk. I'll keep it short because I want to hear this from MAGA too. I just want to make sure it's clear that at first it was 40-year high inflation. The economy was going to hell. Now that the economy's getting better, right? Inflation's down, GDP is up, jobs are up. I mean, you already know the economic numbers. Stock market hitting record highs. Notice they're not talking about the economy anymore, right? So now the focus is the border, right?
Yeah.
And it's this huge crisis that we have at the border. But now they have an opportunity to fix the crisis, and they're saying, no, this helps us. So let's let it stay a crisis. This is who they are. Believe them.
Yeah, but now in the comments, I'm going to give you what I'm seeing in the comments from Selena because this comes in. A lot of Americans do agree with what she said. She says the economy is not better. Why do you think, even though most political analysts are making it clear that the inflation, the jobs numbers, most political analysts on both sides of the aisle, the ones that analyze economics are saying that the economy is indeed better. But why do you think there's so many citizens that think otherwise?
Well, some of it is partisan politics. Some of it is people don't feel it, right? So you
Yeah.
can make more, but if you're spending more, they don't see it. I think it has to do with partisan politics. They don't like Joe Biden. So therefore, when Trump was coming out with his job numbers, oh my God, look at all these jobs. When Biden's job number come out, what type of jobs are they? Are they good paying
Yeah.
jobs? They're analyzing it more than they would have if it was Trump. So I think that's the disconnect is they don't like Biden. So even if it looks good, it's still bad.
Yeah. Now I will say in defense of Trump because you made a good point about the jobs coming out under Biden. People were going, well, are they good paying jobs? In defense of Trump, I will myself personally admit when Trump was bragging about his job numbers, 3.5% unemployment rate, I personally asked the same question. Yeah, you're creating jobs, but if they're all low paying minimum wage jobs, is that something to brag about? So
right, but MAGA didn't say that though, right?
no, they didn't. Yeah.
MAGA didn't when they said that the black unemployment was the lowest it had ever been in American history. They didn't say, you know, what black people were getting paid, right?
Right,
What
right.
did it really do for our economic base? They just said you got a job. Didn't matter what type of job it was.
Yeah, and I've said that. Yeah, I've said that before too. I agree with you that simply creating jobs doesn't necessarily mean anything. If a person got to work 3 of those jobs just to get by, or they don't have health care and things like that, just saying you gave somebody a job is not necessarily a benefit.
Right, and I get that, but it's not just the jobs, right? Like you said, the GDP is up. We know that our inflation is the lowest of any other country. I mean, you have to look at this was a global issue. We've outpaced every other country. But let me just say this, and I'll go on the border. They don't want to talk about. They're not talking about the economy anymore. Trump actually said in the interview how Biden's running off the flames of his economy now. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Right? So they don't, and he hopes it crashes, right?
Yeah, he did say that too.
Yes, this is political. They know the economy is good. They just don't want to admit it. And that's fine. But now it's the border. And they don't want to fix the border because that's a talking point. That's what they need to win an election. But it's the economy, stupid. So as long as inflation continues to come down, these interest rates, that's what we need to work on now is those interest rates. I think we're set up for a re-election. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Appreciate you coming on, Judge. Good talk. Looking in, I'm going straight back to the bots, but I do agree with my last caller that it does seem like we're playing partisan politics, whereas we don't really want to solve the problem if it will hurt the chance of our chosen political leader to get elected again. If it hurts Biden or if it hurts Trump, I do agree that there are folks who would rather do what is necessary to ensure that their chosen candidate gets reelected than to actually do what is necessary to get the country back in order. Going back to the box though, Takesha Blue, tap the screen, folks, of this evening live. Get your boy up to about 5,000. I do appreciate you folks tuning in. We're asking that question, blocking the border bill. Looks like Trump is suggesting that his side not cooperate with the liberals and block the border bill. Takesha, good evening.
Hey, Ansel.
Hey, so what do you think? What's going on here?
Foolishness. You've been talking about the border for the past 3 years. You said Biden got open borders and everything. You say he's not doing anything about the border. Okay, they get a bipartisan bill together that's going to solve the border problem. And because you think it's going to make Biden look good and take away your running point, then you don't want to do it. So that lets me know that you're not concerned about the border.
But wait, let me ask you this, because this is coming in from a lot of folks while you and I are talking. Lulabelle, for instance, said it doesn't have anything to do with Trump. Read the bill. And then I seen also in the comments, Dog34 said, "Have you read the border bill?" So they're suggesting that. Go ahead.
Lulabelle, have you read the bill? The man, listen, the Speaker of the House himself came out and said that Trump was calling them, telling them not to vote on the bill because he needs it to run on. If he's saying it, how can you try to say read the bill? Yeah. Apparently, y'all didn't read the bill.
Yeah, and I will follow that up by, you correct in saying the Republican Speaker of the House on the congressional side is saying exactly what you said. Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate minority leader on the Republican side as well. So literally both the top...
Mitt Romney said it.
Yeah.
They not the only ones saying it.
Yeah.
Come on now.
But yet they think the bill is bad. Why do you think that is?
Handsome, there's nothing. It's a bipartisan bill. I could see if it was a Democratic only bill. It's a bipartisan bill. They gave the Republicans what they asked for, and now all of a sudden you talking about the bill is bad. What is what you asked for?
Well, but they're pointing it out. They're not a fan of, because what they put in the bill, and I think this is where they should have not done this, but they put in the bill war funds, to money to the Ukraine, money to Israel. If we're talking about protecting the border, that shouldn't be in there.
Handsome liberal. How many years have we been giving money to Ukraine? Think about it.
Yeah.
Trump gave money to Ukraine. They didn't have a problem with it then. But now all of a sudden y'all got a problem with giving money to Ukraine because Biden doing it? Come on, y'all. Stop the foolishness. All you're doing is showing your one-sidedness. You don't want to solve the border problem because you want to keep talking about it. Because if the border problem is solved, guess what? Y'all ain't got nothing to talk about. Cut the crap.
Well, but they
not concerned. Listen, they not concerned about the border.
10 months.
They not.
10 to 11 months. If this bill is tossed to the side, the border's going to stay the way it is for at least 10 or 11 more months. That is until after the election.
And that lets you know that they not concerned about the border. Y'all done had them folks jumping in their semi-trucks, riding to Texas to the border, to sit down there and baptize themselves to eat their ham and cheese sandwiches, because they really ain't got nothing to do down there. You know, because it was such a big problem. You know, the folk were jumping over the wire, you know, swimming through the bottom of the wire, coming in on their canoes, helicoptering in, parachuting, jumping out planes, come across the border, and y'all get there, and y'all sitting on board because y'all ain't got nothing to do.
So,
stop it.
Oh
Just
my
cut the crap.
But so at the end of the day, let me ask you this question. If the border stays chaotic the way it is because of what the Republicans and liberals cannot do in terms of coming together on a agreement at the behest of Trump, we know Trump is behind it. But at the end, who gets the blame for the chaos at the border between Trump and Biden?
It's not gonna be. Let me tell you something, Hansel. It's already enough when it was supposed to be a red wave. It was a cause of a hysterectomy. We're not concerned with the Republicans. They listen. You didn't even you got one little drop of a tittle, and that's because of the surgery. Because the show didn't then come out after that, so they let you know that was a hysterectomy. What I'm saying is this, house, they need to go sit down somewhere because everything they doing is not working. You want to charge Joe Biden for some Hunter Biden did. It's not working. You swear you had all this information that was going to take him down. It's not working. Now you want to sit up and bother Mayorkas and try to impeach him, and y'all were stopping the help for the border. Republicans are laughable.
But I gotta push back.
It's like a tip for me, Elmo.
Oh my God. I do gotta push back. Before I move it on and let you go, I do have to push back. All of the polls say that Biden is hurting when it comes to comparing him to Trump. Why is that?
Oh, what did you said? What now?
All of the polls that are coming out show that
No, no, they're not. Not all of them. No, no, sir.
the overwhelming.
No, sir, Hicks.
I don't know,
No,
Takesha.
sir.
I haven't seen
No,
many.
sir.
Wait,
I
Takesha.
need you to go. I need you to go and research. No, sir.
You
Go research and come back to me.
you're telling me
No, sir.
you're telling me that you're seeing polls that put Biden over Trump right now.
I did. I honestly saw one for real.
Okay,
I did.
one. You saw one.
Listen, have you not noticed? Have you not learned that polls don't mean this? You still talk. We still talking about the red wave. Listen, I ain't never seen a wave pool so red in all my life before the election, and then after that, it was clear as the day is long. Stop it. I don't do polls. Because polls don't vote. People do.
Well said. All right, Takesha. Appreciate you coming on.
Sweetie.
All right, I'm going to go all the way to the opposite of you for my next caller, but I do appreciate it. Go ahead and drop out because the box on this side did not appear. All right, always a good conversation with Takesha. All right, so moving it on, and by the way, that applause you hear, I did end up getting a soundboard. I'm going to be trying this thing out, so you may hear a few sound effects, but we're talking about the border bill. And I see in the comments we've been discussing it. Many folks are suggesting, listen, this was a bad bill. There's a legitimate reason not for Republicans not to back this. That has nothing to do with Trump. However, that is a difficult one to follow because there are so many Republicans saying otherwise. This is very similar to the discussion we often have about whether the election was held properly or if Trump won or whatever. And I often follow up by saying it's very difficult when there are so many Republicans saying the opposite. Well, this border bill is the same thing. There's a hell of a lot of Republicans that are saying this is a good border bill. In fact, I believe it's the union rep or whatever the case may be that works with Border Patrol that leans right, another conservative outfit. They're saying this is a good bill. They're saying this is a good bill for protecting the border. So there's a lot of conservatives, a lot of people on the right that are not saying this is a bad bill. So when folks say, well, it's not about Trump, it's a bad bill. If it's such a bad bill, why are all the leaders, many leaders of the Republican Party saying otherwise? I mean, literally, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, and the Minority Leader, and the Congressional Speaker of the House, they're both saying it's a good bill. Those are not liberals, so it's hard to just buy into believing it's a bad bill. Big John on YouTube. It is nonsense. We already have 20 to 30 million illegals in the U.S. Who is going to pay for all this? We already owe 35 million. Well, I'm going to go to the box, but one of the provisions in the bill is allocating billions of dollars to get more judges and expedite the process. So when you say we have 20 to 30 some odd million illegals already in the country, this would help get some of those folks out. Because once you expedite the asylum process, overwhelmingly, most of those folks are not going to qualify for asylum and they would end up being deported. So it would help that. When you talk about 20 to 30 million, it would actually help that. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time finding some of them, but I don't think all 30 million of them are going to go on the lam. Going to the box, we'll go straight to the one and only banished Trumpster. Appreciate you holding on. Moo! I didn't just notice that. Moo, we'll get to you. Good evening.
Evening.
Hey, so what do you think? You think it's a good idea to block this border bill?
Oh yeah, I mean this border bill. If you look into it, it allows up to I think near 2 million. I think it was 1.8 million immigrants into the country before you can even touch them and even.
Okay. Now, I did list some of this stuff. 118.3 billion is what the bill allocates. Now, 3.9 billion for 4,338 new asylum officers and hundreds of border cops. Do you not favor that?
Well, none of it allows, like literally we're allowing 1.8
million criminals into the country. You're giving $20 billion to Israel, $60 billion to Ukraine. Imagine we just spent that on the border instead of giving it to these military contractors
let me
to enrich themselves and keep these wars going.
let me start out by saying, in regards to the money going to the Ukraine and also the money going to Israel, most of the Republican Party is in favor of both of those things. When it came to the Republican debate, and they asked all of those Republicans from Chris Christie to Nikki Haley to Ron DeSantis and all of them folks, how many of you would continue assisting the Ukraine? They all raised their hand. So, and I think Israel would even be more stronger, because even Trump got involved with that and moved the embassy moved it to Jerusalem or whatever. So I don't think that's going to go away if you get Trump. But in regards to the border, let me give you another one. And I'll let you give me a response. This border bill would end catch and release. Right now, if we catch an immigrant trying to get into the country, we catch them and they essentially get released. This would make it so they are going to be detained until they can either be judged or deported. Do you support that?
Well, obviously, that's something I support. Ideally, we would just turn them away before they even get into our country. I don't think we should even be responsible for holding on to these people. Honestly, they should just, not be entered into our fortress.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point about we turning them away before they can enter our fortress, as you say. Another provision in the bill: asylum seekers would have to show why they couldn't relocate to a different part of their own country. If they're saying they're running from the cartel or running to save their lives, the bill would now require them to show proof or evidence. Why can't you just move to southern Mexico if you got a problem in northern Mexico? Do you support that?
I mean, when it comes to that, there's always going to be some sneakster that looks like they're going to figure out a way around it. These people are constantly lying. We don't even know these people's true identity. And if it comes to claims they're making, they're going to be like, there's going to be a tricky answer that you're not going to be able to turn down. And these lawyers are going to figure it out. They're going to spend millions of dollars to look into it. They're going to exploit that system. It has to be fully shut down. There's way too much money behind exploiting this stuff. Billions of dollars, honestly.
Well, but wait a minute. If you think they're going to find a way to exploit this bill, why do you feel so confident they're not going to find a way to exploit the things that Trump may do? If they put a wall up, is it impossible to exploit the wall, go under it or go over it or go through it? Is that impossible?
Some walls it is. The wall in Egypt you can't dig under. The one that borders Israel, that's actually a funny fact. That actually goes 60 feet down. I just wanted to tunnel 60 people out. But we don't want a fence like what he's built. We want a concrete wall. We want to send the army there, not to Israel.
Speaking of impenetrable walls, did you see what happened to the wall in Israel you're talking about on October 7th?
Well, I was mentioning the Egyptian border, and there was good evidence Israel let that happen. They allowed Hamas to punch them in the face so they can go in there and... Well, I mean,
wait. This is a side topic, but you're telling me you believe that Israel intentionally let Hamas come in there and murder over 1,000 of them as an excuse to go to war. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this has been pretty much confirmed with they knew how Hamas was going to attack them 6 months in advance when it was going to happen. I mean, anytime a cockroach flies over the wall in Israel, they have some of the best. These are the most paranoid people in the freaking world. A cockroach flies over a pigeon, they know. 7-hour response. You can get Apache anywhere in Israel in 15 minutes. The first responders were these old vets that rolled up on their Harley Davidsons to fight these freaking terrorists. It took 7 freaking hours. This Israel's the size of what? I think they say New Jersey. And
so what's...
all you can look into this. And Israel was short trading the stocks, just like they were on 9/11. I mean, when you mentioned 9/11, so I mean, some might say that we also knew we were going to be attacked on September 11th and let it happen. Do you believe that? Well, I mean, it's the same similar plan.
Oh, come on! You don't believe that, do you? You really believe that?
But we're gonna stay away. What was that?
You really believe that we knew we could lose up to 3,000 people on? Actually, could have lost a hell of a lot more. The only reason why we didn't lose more is that those World Trade Centers were not very occupied. But you're saying that it's possible that we knew they were about to do that, and because we could actually end up with personal gain via war or whatever, we let that happen intentionally. Is that what you're telling me?
When you say we, I mean, I think it was parts that were infiltrated by foreign governments, partially the one we're talking about now. They did allow us to punch them in the face, and then what do? We go and deal ultimate damage, go kill 300,000 or 3 million people at least. I mean, trillions of dollars are at stake. They killed a lot less people for a lot less money. I mean, trillions of dollars. And a lot of these people, I believe they worship Satan anyway. So they're like to sacrifice a few thousand people in some sort of ritual like that to make trillions of dollars, especially if it benefits their home country. I think that's no problem for them.
Wow. Now, I got to say, I always enjoy having you on, even though you and I disagree on everything under the sun. But what you're saying right now, even though, once again, I'm totally disagreeing with you, quite a few people believe you that both America and Israel intentionally let those chaotic events take place. I'm seeing folks on both YouTube and TikTok that are agreeing with you on this. Why would that? Do you think this nation is that bad?
When it comes to the top, I believe it's been infiltrated by people who are, black. Well, I mean, we already saw it with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, look at what he was blackmailing people with. We never saw any of the stuff the FBI recovered from his freaking apartment from New York, but we did see a picture of Bill Clinton in a dress and red heels throwing paper airplanes at 2 Jenga towers. I don't know if you saw that painting.
So let me before we get too far off the deal, let me go back to the border. So in regards to this border bill, you do believe it's a good idea to reject it?
I mean, I'm not like a pro-politician, but I think if you're gonna make a deal on the border, I want how it seems to me is they're like, all right, you stupid Americans, you want your border protected? All right, it's gonna be $60 billion to Ukraine, $20 billion to Israel, and then you're gonna have to let 2 million of these people in, and then all right, then.
Well, wait. In regards to the 2 million of these people in, what do you think the number should be?
No, it should be 0. I mean, why should we be?
So you believe we should shut off immigration completely?
When you get 50 million people and you start shutting down schools, you don't know where any of these people are. I mean, what other countries are doing this? We want to be like when we were, before 9/11, America was one of the best countries. It was the best country in the world. No one was even close coming out of the Cold War.
But you do know.
I wanted the American cities to be the best cities in the world. We can't fill them with all these migrants from the third world. When New York City needs to be the best in the world and the best country in the world, you think that's really going to happen by filling it with 2 million migrants every?
Whoa, wait a minute. Wait, hold on. If you think one of America's most popular urban centers like New York should not be filled with migrants, then how about blaming that on Governor Abbott? Because that is not the migrants aren't coming across the border and running for New York. That is something that is artificially taking place at the hands of Governor Abbott and Ron DeSantis. If you want to blame folks for what's happening in New York, you can talk about Biden at the border, but that's being done intentionally by Governor Abbott of Texas. So does he not get any of the blame?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good point. You can blame the governor, and then you got to look at the people who are voting for them. A lot of these people have been brought here illegally. They're nationalized. Their children are now voting for these people. What do you think these people's children are going to vote for? A lot of these people have been here for 20 freaking years doing this illegally, and they're in these cities, and now they're voting Democrat because it benefits them. It benefits people like them. And that's why in 1999, California, it went red. That will never, ever happen in our lifetime again.
Why not? But wait. Why won't California go red? Why won't immigrants vote Republican? I mean, immigrants tend to be Christian, particularly the ones that come from Hispanic countries. They believe in working hard. Many of them are pro-life. Why won't they ever vote Republican? What is it about the Republican Party that if an immigrant comes to this country from a Hispanic country and they become a naturalized citizen or gain residency, why will they avoid the Republican Party? Why are you saying that?
I thought thought about this a lot, and when it comes to the first generation, you do see the trend where it's like, yeah, okay, they are conservative from a lot of these countries. But second generation, I've seen it in person, and I've seen the statistics. It doesn't work. It happens from China. It's statistically the same thing. You have the first generation Chinese. Look at every single freaking Americanized immigrant. It's very, very rare that they are a staunch conservative. It's usually
Why? But why is that? What is it about the Conservative Party that would make it so that it's rare that they ever want to be a part of it?
I don't think that's they want to be a part of it. I think they just realize that, like, if you want to be race loyal and help these people, you're going to vote Democrat because these people are sympathetic to your people. I mean, that's just how it is.
So you're saying the Republican Party has no sympathy to immigrants?
To illegal immigrants? No. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. If these illegal immigrants come and they're, like, imagine what the parents, so if your parents are illegal immigrants, you have a bunch of babies and their kids can vote now, they're probably going to vote on behalf of these illegal immigrants. They're not going to vote to kick them out. That's the reason they're there. I mean, they're going to be like, oh, people like me, and they're going to have affinity to people. And a lot of races, I mean, black people, they have this. They have affinity for other black people. I mean, white people don't have this.
Wait a minute. You said black people have an affinity to other blacks, but whites don't have that? Did I hear that correctly? Wait a minute. What did you...
Obviously, blacks are race loyal compared to whites. They're very ethno-masochistic. You can look right now in the chat and you'll see tons of white people saying how I'm like a terrible person. But black people, I mean, they're always turning the other way when they see something they don't like. But, like, they're all, like...
Come on. The country was literally founded on white supremacy for hundreds of years. You were to tell me whites weren't loyal to other whites, yet I couldn't get... I personally could not be employed in most of the professions in existence in this country until at least the 1960s. I couldn't vote. White people were clearly loyal to other white people. What are you talking about? White-only fountains, white-only neighborhoods? What do you...
Look at the, like, who would you say is the most ethno-masochistic race, meaning the most race-hating, they hate their own race. That's what ethno-masochism is. No one would disagree it's white people. You look at all these liberal white women, they say white people are the problem. You'll never ever hear a black person say that about themselves, a Chinese person.
I completely...
To the tunes of the millions.
Let me tell you what, when you say which race hates themselves the most and you say it's whites because of white liberals, I disagree. I grew up seeing black people like Michael Jackson dye their skin white, black girls with blonde, straight hair. I seen plenty of black folks dying to be white because they thought white was right. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the doll test? DOLL test. If you look on YouTube, it's called the doll test, where they put 3 dolls of different ethnicities in front of a kid. They're the same dolls. One is Hispanic, one is black, one is white. And then they start asking these 5-year-old kids which one is the bad doll, which one is the good doll. And they ask a variety of kids in that same kindergarten age range, black kids, white kids. They all say the bad things about the black doll, and they all say good things about the white doll. I do believe, in my opinion, blacks are probably the most probably the race that actually has a negative view of its own self, because we were taught that. Now, African immigrants that come in this country, they don't act like us, but we were taught that we were imperfect. So I gotta say just the opposite of what you're saying.
Man, I mean, I don't know. Like, sure, they may look up to white people, but like, when it comes to hating, like, you'll never see black people just they hate other black people. When it comes to like white people, you'll be like, we need, like, when do they say, like, rarely do you ever see people say black people or other black people.
Have you ever heard of Candace Owens, Tim Scott, Justice Thomas? Have you ever heard of these people? Sheriff Clark out of Milwaukee. I mean, have you ever? There's plenty of black people that speak very negatively of black people.
Famous. I've never met one in the streets, like in person. There's reasons why they're famous, really, because they're very few and far between.
Okay.
You go to
True.
This. I mean, you go to Chinese. I mean, it's gotta be like. I mean, my stance is white people have been living in these white societies for 5,000 years, and they've never had any sort of threat towards like their identity as like white people. So they have no reason to like have any sort of race loyalty like that. But when it comes to all these other races, they've been through all these tribulations, wars, and stuff like that.
At the hands.
You don't think things like slavery breeds like a certain type of brotherhood other than just like, like white people, there's no sort of anything like that. And if it's highly stigmatized. Imagine if I said I have white brotherhood with another person. Immediately, people would be like, "What the fuck? Are you a Nazi?"
But the crazy thing is, you bring up that slavery and things like that have drawn black people together. You do realize all the things that may have drawn these other races together is stuff that happened to them at the behest of white people. All of these things you're talking about, these are atrocities that were imposed on them by white people. So if it made these other groups of folks have unity, it's not that it was natural, it's that they went through some trials and tribulations that were wrongfully put upon them.
I don't know how. Well, sure. I think it's just adversity, and I don't think all adversity in the world comes from white people.
No, I don't. I agree with that. I agree with
the finger
that.
for a lot of it.
Right.
I don't think you can say every single group of people that experience diversity. I mean, the Kurds and the Turkish are fighting right now. I mean, there's wars in India all the time, Pakistan. I mean, these people, it's not always the white people.
I'm talking about in this country, though. There's in this country, if you are a white person and you're subject
to the other people that come here, you look at
we're talking for the most part about people in this country. If you are white in this country, you are the victim of racism. It's generally at the hands of another citizen. You got white people that go to the wrong club and black people jump them, or or the wrong neighborhood, they get jumped by blacks. If you're white, the racism you face is going to be at the hands of another citizen. If you're a minority and you deal with racism, it's the system oftentimes, the police or some banking institution. This whole systems that are coming down on you. And the difference also is if you're white and you're a victim of racism, you generally can call the police and have it addressed. Minorities, often the racism is coming from the police. So you don't have the same avenue of even recourse because it's coming from the systems in place. Would you disagree with that?
Well, a lot of that, like racism isn't always illegal. You can't just call the police when people are discriminating against you. Like if I don't get hired for being like a certain race or you're getting, rejected from certain spots. I mean, racism isn't usually like, blatant attacks. I mean, sometimes it is. But
if you
have race loyalty, it doesn't become but groups just have race.
Okay, I do gotta move it on as always, but I just want to say if you're white and you're white and you're the victim of racism, it's almost always likely going to be violence. For the most part, not getting hired somewhere or not getting a banking loan. Those are avenues of racism that whites rarely have to deal with. You don't hear too many white people saying they gave me a bullshit interest rate on this loan that they would not have given black people. That just doesn't even come up. If you're a white person complaining about racism, it's generally some violence was bestowed upon you. That is the only form of racism most white people are dealing with. Outside of that, because it's not systemic, all in the system.
I'd like to push back on that. One pushback though, if I said what I said on my account, like if I went on my Instagram account with my face and I started saying the things I said on Banish Trumpster, you think I'd have a job? You think no? And let's take out all the things I said about black people or whatever, and I love black people, but you can argue it's racist. But even you talk about the Great Replacement Theory, fire. That's what got Tucker Carlson canned. ADL goes after him hard. You lose your MasterCard, your Visa. This stuff's happened, banned from YouTube. Black people, not so much.
But that's not. But you got to keep in mind that when and I agree with you. MAGA gets banned a hell of a lot. That's why I enjoy talking to MAGA, and that's why the whole programs ran that way. But that's not coming from black people. That's coming from, as you said, white liberals. That's not us doing that to you. That's not a minority.
It's not white liberals. Well, it's Zionists. They're the ones running it. Have a good day.
I can't speak on that. I gotta go. I gotta move it on.
Zionists hate white people too, more than Palestinians. Have a good one.
All right, appreciate it. And by the way, go ahead and drop out. I don't know why I don't see it, but moving on with the program, not in this woke environment. Whites aren't hired for their education. Here's what I don't get. we're in an environment, as my individual in the comments is stating. Now, you said in this woke environment, user 4535, whatever. You said not in this woke environment, whites aren't hired for their education. When we had a period in history when blacks or Hispanics or even women weren't hired simply for who they were, why wasn't it called woke? Why did it only become a woke issue when you believe the treatment is happening towards whites? I mean, most of American history, most of the history of this nation, being white was a benefit. And a lot of these other entities couldn't get jobs, couldn't vote, couldn't do anything. And nobody was referring to it as woke. Can somebody explain that? I mean, what happened? Why all of a sudden, when it happened in reverse, it suddenly became woke all of a sudden? Looking in the comments, Trump is not blocking it. He said it's a bad bill, poorly negotiated. Stop pushing lies, says Beach Realtor. Beach Realtor, in regards to suggesting that Trump is not blocking this bill, the Republicans are saying that Trump is blocking this bill. That's not coming from yours truly. They're actually saying it out loud that Trump is I think Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, the Republicans are actually saying it out loud that Trump is telling people not to block the bill. Are you telling me the Republican Party don't know what they're talking about? Looking in the comments, it should be none of Trump's concern. True. Absolutely true. Trump is not president. The Congress, even though they're Republicans, should not be working on behalf of a former president. Going back to the box, Moo, do appreciate you holding all that time. Certainly a friend of the program. Moo, the Tuxedo Cat, good evening.
What's up, man? What's going on?
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm in the trenches, man.
Yeah. Bipartisan doesn't mean good, right? Just because something bipartisan doesn't mean it's good. Like for instance, the Iraq War was bipartisan, right? The crime bill was bipartisan. Lots of things.
That's a good point. Really good point.
Good. And people get all excited when something's bipartisan. You guys need to actually understand what's in the bill and get what's going on before you talk about, oh, it's bipartisan, so that means it's good.
Well,
The bill is shit.
So give me your reason why you think the bill is shit.
So you got like $14 billion going to help out a genocide, right? You guys are down to help out, unaliving women, children, bombing hospitals, right? So this bill's fantastic, man, because that's what you're funding, right?
Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that genocide, because you're obviously talking about helping fund the Israelis. I mean, I get what they're doing is beyond heavy-handed. It's overkill. But I do have to ask you, why would Hamas do that? What should the Israelis do? They came in their country and tried to slaughter it. Wait, hold on, hang on a second. They came into their country and tried to slaughter as many Israelis as they could get their hands on. Give me your point.
Yeah. So Israel created Hamas by occupying Gaza for like 70 some years. So that's Israel's creation right there. Just like we created ISIS when we took on Iraq and created that massive power vacuum, right? So when you occupy people, you create extremists, right? And so you're asking people that you're occupying, you're keeping them hostage, you control their fuel, their water, you're pretty much keeping them in an open-air prison, and then you turn around and like, love me, I'm keeping you in an open-air prison, but you should love me. Shit don't work like that, my dude.
So what you're saying is what happened to Israel, they deserved it?
I'm not saying that they deserved it. Nobody deserves what happened to them. What I'm saying is it's their own creation. If you would have treated these people like equals, you wouldn't have had this problem. You created your own issues.
Okay, so now that issue took place on October 7th, even though you're saying it is by the doing of Israel, I'm following your point. I'm asking you, once that issue took place and they came and tried to murder a bunch of people and successfully did it, what should Israel do?
So what Israel should have done is use special forces to go after any Hamas they could find. But really what Israel should do is be the bigger nation and try to work out some sort of two-state solution. Because if you don't end the occupation, it's just going to keep on going, right? Because now what you've done is you've unalived a bunch of people's grandparents, their moms, their dads, their mothers, their brothers. So you've just created a whole bunch of more Hamas with what you did.
Yeah.
So everything you did is completely ineffective. Okay, you just created more extremists. That's what you did.
I don't disagree with, particularly with Israel's heavy-handed approach by killing, like you mentioned, a bunch of innocent people. Hell of a lot of it's on video. But at the end of the day, if you're a politician, let's say you were in the place of Netanyahu, and you are on television on October 8th, people want blood. Your citizens want blood after that.
My dude, you gotta understand something. Netanyahu propped up Hamas, okay? He allowed the selling of weapons to the Hamas government by the Middle East. He knew that that was going down, and he allowed it to happen.
I mean, I get all that, but you're going into hindsight. I'm saying on October 7th, when all of these folks...
He knew about that too.
What?
He knew about that.
Okay,
The
that's...
last caller wasn't wrong.
Okay, wait, hold on, hang on.
He knew that attack
Oh,
was
okay,
going to happen.
we can Monday morning quarterback all of that. But what I'm saying is on October 7th, even if everything you're saying is 100% correct, on October 7th, if you are in Netanyahu's shoes, your citizens are going to want blood. They want revenge for that. What do you do?
Well, you as a leader need to calm your people and give them a productive course of action, right? Because now what you've done is you've actually endangered your people, right? By attacking those Arabs, you've made the other Arab nations angry, and you've committed genocide. So now you've made yourself look bad in many countries' eyes. So if you think that you've actually helped your own people by doing what you did, you haven't. You've endangered your people by doing what you did. You've made Israel look terrible on the world stage. You've committed a genocide.
So what you're saying is on October 7th, if you were in charge, you would have stood down?
I wouldn't have stood down. Like I said, I would use special forces to go after Hamas. I wouldn't level an entire city. I wouldn't bomb hospitals. I wouldn't make men strip down to their underwear and then execute them. I wouldn't do that.
You're going to send special forces into Gaza. You realize how many of them folks are going to get killed? I mean, you're going to literally take the...
So they haven't taken out Hamas. How effective is what they've done so far?
Oh, I think it's very effective. There's
How
no...
good are their ideas right now?
If they did what you're suggesting, where they sent in the special forces and tried to do it low key after losing, first of all, they done lost 1,000 people, and they go sending in special forces, you're gonna have two things. First of all, you're putting special forces in harm's way by sending them in as a soft target like that. Second of all, the citizens of Israel will be going apeshit. This is all you're going to do after they murdered 1,000 of us? I don't see how you could do that.
I mean, how's it working out for you right now? World War III is on the brink. America's bombing Syria. America's starting fights with Iran. So what you're saying is you prefer this course of action, and the people would prefer this course of action. So again, you've endangered Israel. You haven't made Israel.
But wait a minute though. You're looking now.
World War III right now. I mean, yeah. Okay, your people want blood. Okay, so you guys want World War III. You need to be a leader and talk to your people and convince them that World War III is probably.
But wait a minute. When you say World War III. Now you're looking at it through the eyes of Americans and other countries that may get involved. But if you're in Israel, if you're a citizen of Israel, you're going to tell, if you start talking World War III, the first thing people of Israel is going to say, listen, we already are dealing with daily rockets. There's bomb shelters every damn where. We're already at war. Threats of World War III don't mean nothing to them folks. The citizens of Israel are already on the daily dealing with attacks.
So on the daily dealing with attacks because they've occupied a people for 75 years. Again, if you don't stop the occupation, then your problems don't go away. They've created this problem by occupying a people for 75 years. Occupying a people is objectively bad.
What do you think Israel could do to please the Muslim world?
What could you do to please the Muslim world?
Yeah.
What you can do is you can take a page out of Trump. You can build a massive wall in between Israel and Gaza and separate these people for a few hundred years until their heads cool off. And then maybe you could start talking peace between them. But right now, you need to separate these two people. Gaza needs its own state. and Israel needs its own state, and you need to keep these people apart for a very, very good long time. And the border bill is shit because there's no reason to have $60 billion in there for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel. Let's see. It does nothing for sense. So it doesn't even address the root cause of all of our problems. Where in that bill does it have any action to start trade deals or any economic stimulus with Central America? Because that's where your problems are coming from, right? So if you don't stimulate Central America's economy anyway and make it more appealing for people to stay there, they're going to keep coming here. And that bill does nothing to address any of that. So that bill won't work. It gives a shit ton of Border Patrol officers that are going to piss away your tax dollars, yet throw more guys down there that are going to sit there and drink coffee all day and not do shit with your tax dollars. That's going to fix it.
Now, I agree with a lot of that, but here's the issue. Do you think America would ever stomach sending a bunch of money to Central America to stimulate their economy when we don't even want to give our own
Yeah, sure.
citizens?
They're stomaching sending $14 billion to Israel. They're stomaching sending $16 billion in military aid to Ukraine. Yeah, man, Americans do that all the time. Sure, they'll tolerate it.
I don't know.
Tolerating it now.
I don't know. I mean, they're fighting hard tooth and nail against sending the money to those other entities you just mentioned, but they don't even want to give us help.
Who's fighting it? Who's fighting it?
Shit, MAGA.
It's a bipartisan bill. Who's fighting it?
MAGA. Otherwise, you have it.
No. See, Trump is fighting. MAGA doesn't know anything about this fucking bill. You're giving them way too much credit right now, okay? MAGA does what Trump tells them to do. If Trump said, Bill good, pass bill, they would be like, yeah, Bill good, pass bill. But no, Trump is like, Bill bad, don't pass bill. So they're like, Bill bad, don't pass bill. They don't know shit about it, dude. You're giving them way too much credit right now.
Wait, you're making it sound like MAGA don't think for themselves.
What do you think?
I mean,
You think?
yeah, you know, I mean, what do you saying? They're sheep?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, dude, they'll do whatever. Dude, listen, MAGA don't know shit about politics. Half of MAGA wasn't even, more than half of MAGA wasn't involved in politics. They saw Trump on TV. They saw him firing people on TV. They get a big old rubbery one for that. And now they see him running for president and they get involved in politics. And that's MAGA right there, bro. They're not politicians. They don't know shit about politics.
I think you just insulted a lot of MAGA. I don't know. I mean,
Cool. They're an insult to this country. Cool.
Damn. All right, Moo. Listen, I'm going to say, I mean, obviously you don't give a damn if I agree or not, but I agree with about 70% of that. I don't know. The Israel thing to me is fairly complicated. I agree with you that the Israelis have encroached on Palestinian settlements and things like that and pissed them off, but you can't respond like October 7th. I know they had a legitimate reason to be angry as hell, but October 7th is not the way to deal with that. That you're never going to get away with that. Just like right now, the Houthis, what they're doing to the United States. It's not going to be long before the Houthis, people in Syria, people in Yemen, are saying the same thing that the folks in Gaza is saying. You're hitting us back too hard.
You know, here's your problem here, what you're dealing with right now, my man. You have things that are called drones now. Iran has a shit ton of drones, right? And estimates from war specialists right now are saying that they have the capability to probably sink even one of our aircraft carriers, dude. So do you know what happens if Iran sinks one of our aircraft carriers? Do you know what that equals?
They're going to become,
That's World War III.
if Iran sinks an aircraft carrier, they're going to become Gaza. And that's what I'm saying is that, but you're talking about Iran. We're not even talking about the Houthis and some of these smaller entities. What I'm simply...
Dude, yeah, they're smaller. They're not the thing, dude. It's going to lead to Iran. That's what all of this leads into is Iran, dude. And if America goes to war with Iran, that's World War III.
So what do we do now? We just back out and watch Israel get disintegrated?
Yeah, so you can't send Israel any more money at this point. You have to cut off their funding
They
completely.
would be
until next
doomed.
year.
If we don't help Israel, we're the only nation right now. If we don't help Israel, that country would be doomed.
So you pay Israel to give you intelligence. That's why we're involved with Israel. If it's true that Israel didn't see October 7th happen, then I guess their intelligence isn't very good, and we should stop paying them.
I don't know. I mean, okay, I get your point. You say they should have saw it happen. I mean, some would say we should have seen September 11th happen. Do you agree with my last caller on that also, that we knew?
We knew September. So George Bush got notifications from the FBI. George W. Bush got notifications from the FBI that people from Egypt were training in Pensacola. I was in the Navy at the time, by the way. The Egyptians were training in Pensacola, Florida to learn how to fly airplanes, and that they were probably going to do some sort of terrorist attack. And he was warned about that by the FBI, and he did jack shit about it.
All right, you're frightening me. You're frightening. All right, Moo. This was not good. You scared the shit out of me with this, but you know, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. Anytime. Damn.
Oh, yeah, man.
All right. That is my boy Moo. Always a pleasure talking to him. Anyhow, folks, tap the screen on this late evening live for you folks on YouTube. Just real quick. I switched over from mobile to Wi-Fi, and it's just really jacked everything up to the point where the screen is sideways. So I'm trying to read some of your comments, and they literally are horizontal. So I'm having a real hard time with you folks on YouTube. The bill allows 5,000 illegal immigrants to cross illegally every day. Well, they're not. It doesn't say it allows 5,000 illegal immigrants to cross. It's the folks seeking asylum. I think there's a certain amount of them that can come in. And remember, the bill provides provision for ending catch and release. So even if 5,000 folks come in, they're all being grabbed, and the bill allows you to detain them while they're being held to determine if they can stay. So even if 5,000 of them come in, you can grab them all. But then if more than 5,000 of them come in, you can shut the border down and do all kinds of other stuff without any authorization. I'm going to say this before I go back to the box. This all or nothing approach that folks on the right is taking is a huge gamble. And I'm saying folks on the right, even though my last caller, Moo, for instance, is a progressive and he thinks the bill is shit as well, most of the folks on the left are in favor of the bill. So it's more folks on the right that are against this than folks on the left. And I do believe, and I understand some of you folks disagree, and I'll go right back to the box, but the main reason the bill is being rejected is Trump. And it's not something I'm throwing out as misinformation. The Republicans are coming out and saying it out loud that Trump is the reason. But the point I'm trying to make is, folks on the right, particularly my beloved MAGA, you're making a big gamble. Because most folks that support Trump feel like Biden ain't trying to do shit about the border. So you got a bill out now that Biden is agreeing to sign that will do quite a bit about the border. Won't go anywhere near as far as you want it to. I get it. You don't like the Ukraine. You don't like helping out Israel. But it's still, in that bill, will go way further than what Biden is doing compared to his first 3 years in office. So when I say you're taking a big gamble, if Trump doesn't get reelected in 2024, you're not going to get this bill back. The stuff that Biden is doing now is obviously more than he's done for his whole damn term. You've gotten pretty far with him willing to make provisions. If Trump wins, then hey, it's all roses and rainbows. Then Trump can do whatever he needs to do. But if he loses, there could be a time when you look back and say, we should have signed that shit. We actually had quite a bit on the table we could have accomplished. We didn't do it. And now he's back to letting an infinite amount of people in here. So keep that in mind. This all or nothing approach could really, and I mean emphasis on really, it could really backfire. Going back to the box, I say you should take what you got. Keeping it moving. I think Tammy was in there. I do appreciate you holding on. If Trump wins, couldn't they do another bill? Yeah, but he has to win to make it happen. He has to win to make it happen, and he has to have enough Republicans on both sides of the House to get it through. You have something right now. It's not where you want to be, but it's at least 50 to 60% there. Turning this down and spinning the wheel again, it's like Russian roulette. It's a big gamble. If you don't get this, like I said, you may end up looking back and saying, man, we should have really took that. Good evening, Tammy.
I hate listening to somebody debate who I partly agree with, but then they're making bad arguments for their point.
Okay, talk to me. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
No, not you.
Oh.
The other guy.
Oh, you talking about Moo. What did you partially agree with? And real quick for you folks on YouTube, I'm going to reset it so we can get this screen thing straight. But go ahead. What do you disagree with my last caller?